most rental relief funds are running out, and in her counties, they don't exist. I questioned him about why certain properties were selected. Texas actually prohibits local municipalities from doing plastic bans. They could potentially give an opinion later on, but from what I just saw, I saw visible reactions from some of the board members. We got to the location. He is not here, and neither is his sign. Here at Mueller Flats Apartments, there are more than 100 open cases with the Austin Code Department. Just an amazing amount of support from this community and working together and really finding solutions for themselves when other people weren't doing it for them. Under Texas law, property owners are still required to make all necessary repairs to buildings, even if tenants are not up to date on their rent. And also, Hays County Corrections Officer Isaiah John Garcia was arrested and released on the same day here in Comal County under a personal bail bond. Under Texas law, a personal bail bond allows the court, where the case is pending, to release the accused on their own recognizance without posting any bail money.
That's what he left me.
A smoke stain on the ceiling is Adrienne Wright's fondest memory of her baby brother.
And he's like, I'm gonna make a torch.
Her garage was a place of serenity for 36-year-old Joshua Wright. Now it's a shrine to the man he once was.
He had a big heart. He had a lot of potential, and that was kind of just ripped away.
Joshua died while serving time in Hays County last December. According to the family's lawyer, Joshua was in the hospital for high blood pressure when corrections officer Isaiah John Garcia allegedly shot Josh in the back while shackled after getting into a scuffle.
That hurts me to my core.
On April 6, a grand jury indicted Garcia on deadly conduct for discharging a weapon in a public place. Garcia got a $25,000 personal bond, so he didn't pay anything and was in jail for about an hour and a half. Joshua Wright, charged with crimes like reckless driving and criminal mischief, had a cash bond of $128,000 and was in jail for about a month.
This is the equivalent of a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Social justice advocate Jordan Buckley came to the jail to protest Garcia's release.
This is a get-out-of-jail-free card.
By hand-delivering a get-out-of-jail-free Monopoly card.
So we're here to raise the flag and say there's some blinding hypocrisy afoot.
Comal County Judge Magistrate Andrew Leone confirmed he signed Garcia's personal bond, but refused to comment further.
I think it's very rare.
Attorney Ken Good specializes in bail law. He's also the director of Professional Bondsmen of Texas.
Personal bonds have to be an option, but the problem is they're not the solution.
A new database, TexasBailStats.com, shows since 2022, 28% of all bonds Hays County issued were personal bail bonds. We looked at every Texas county listed on the database. Only Harris and Galveston County had more personal bonds for major crimes.
The situation that you brought to my attention, I think has identified an issue that's been problematic with the implementation of SB 6.
SB 6, a bail reform bill passed in the 2021 legislature. Good says the law has caused confusion about which bonds are mandatory versus discretionary.
A bond amount set by a grand jury is not discretionary. I believe that's mandatory.
This case illustrates the inconsistencies of bail bonds. Garcia killed Wright and got out of jail free. Wright's family wants to know how that's justice.
It doesn't add up, but I guess that's our criminal justice system.
The Salvation Army downtown shelter has around 250 beds out of around 1,000 beds available in the city, compared to more than 4,000 homeless people in Austin, according to city records. There's no shortage of activity outside the Salvation Army's downtown shelter. Neighbors help move belongings stuffed in trash bags for those who have somewhere else to stay.
You should have come.
Tweet saying Va does not.
Yeah.
She came to Austin to find a home. What Va found was a city with a massive shortage in shelters and affordable housing.
Nowhere was available. So yes, so a few days later I came back and thank God they had a bed available for me.
Va is one of 100 unhoused individuals who lived at the shelter when the news of its closing was posted on the Salvation Army's website about a month ago.
I wouldn't ended up here if I had, other places to be.
Residents say the only option they've been given is to relocate to the Salvation Army shelter in Dallas.
Single women like myself are getting the short end of the stick because there's nowhere for us to go.
It was such a slap in the face. I don't understand how you could just move us out in a month.
At the latest Austin Public Health Committee meeting, Mayor Kirk Watson and council members called out the Salvation Army for mishandling the situation.
This is one of the significant problems that I think was created by such a rapid closure of the facility.
Days later, the city announced it will pay to keep the downtown shelter open for 30 days and are currently working to relocate the roughly 50 remaining residents.
We were at a point where we had to make a critical decision.
Salvation Army Austin Area Commander Major Louis Reckline refused to talk with Spectrum News. He told the committee they can't afford to upkeep the aging downtown shelter, which costs $100,000 a month to operate.
What is your net loss on a
$3 million a year.
$3 million a year?
Financial reports show the Salvation Army had a budget surplus of more than $1 million in 2021. The Salvation Army also has a 12-month contract with the city for more than $250,000 as part of the city's efforts to reduce homelessness.
It is negligence. We need oversight over Salvation Army and providers like Salvation Army.
Despite the city dedicating millions to implement a homeless strategy division, data shows Austin-Travis County's unhoused population has gone up, especially the number of unsheltered homeless.
I know that the crisis is scary, but lack of humanity is scarier.
For now, residents like Va are breathing a temporary sigh of relief, but the future of the downtown shelter is still uncertain. The CDC shows nearly 10% of children 3 to 17 have an ADHD diagnosis. Medical studies estimate up to 5% of adults are diagnosed with ADHD in the U.S., and a vast majority rely on medications to function. Now, in addition to Adderall shortages, which I first reported back in summer of 2022, the Concerta generic methylphenidate is also in short supply. Yeah, picking up for Jamil Donith. What once was a simple trip to pick up meds, none, has now become mission impossible. For most people with ADHD in America today, hello, are you picking up? Finding a pharmacy that has our prescription? None whatsoever. It's like a full-time detective job.
No, we don't have it.
And even a reporter like me can't seem to solve the case. Hey, I'm calling to see if you guys have any methylphenidate. Pharmacists tell me problem stocking methylphenidate started last fall. Now only a few generics are available, and the supply doesn't last long. Walmart? No. The American Society of Health System Pharmacists shows 7 manufacturers experiencing shortages. The few companies that provided a reason reported product discontinuation, unavailability of active ingredients, and awaiting review and allocation from the Drug Enforcement Agency.
Insulin vials.
Pharmacist Dr. Ashley Garling, a clinical professor at UT Austin College of Pharmacy, says it's a result of supply chain issues following the pandemic and more people being diagnosed with ADHD, especially adults.
It really was this one domino falls, the next one comes, and then all of a sudden the market is not ready for this influx of prescriptions.
Do you know why that is? While there is much speculation that overdiagnosis and abuse are to blame, Dr. Garling says underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed adults are finally getting treated.
We started to have an expansion of access. Telehealth has been excellent.
Dr. Garling says these shortages expose accountability issues in the pharmaceutical industry that she can't control.
It's just really up to legislation, the regulators, and the healthcare system to play by the rules and find things that work for this new world of medicine.
Until then, the tens and millions of ADHDers like me, all right, thank you so much, will have to stick to calling every pharmacy in town.
Jesus says in Matthew 4:17,
a conservative evangelical,
those who have been hurt by the church,
and a progressive Presbyterian,
that is mind, body, and soul,
polar opposites.
I'm not sure what agenda they would promote.
And pen pals. It all started with a sign.
And I passed by the church and I hated their signs. Oh my gosh, their signs just irritated me.
That compelled Velma Pavlasik to email the church.
You're sinning and you're going to go to hell.
Carol Johnson was the recipient. Most people might ignore these comments, but Johnson decided to respond.
I appreciated her honesty.
And then Pavlasic replied back, and so it began.
This is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong.
They argued about abortion,
That the unborn do not need to be aborted.
LGBTQ rights,
This is the second trans child I know who has committed suicide.
topics so rarely touched among friends, openly debated between strangers.
I've told her things I've never told anybody else.
With every sent email, their discourse grew into discussion.
As long as we disagree with respect, keep talking, all is well.
And while they don't always agree, they began to find common ground.
I'm willing to come halfway to you.
And after 7 months back and forth, that's how two foes became friends.
She may laugh, but I call her my confessor priest.
Their relationship lives mostly online. This interview is only the second time they've met in person.
We're true pen pals.
Yes. And these two Texans are not only friends, but allies. Pavlasic joined Johnson's church in fighting for transgender rights.
I deeply believe that if we can get underneath the issues, we want the same things.
They haven't changed churches or political parties just yet, but they say their lives are forever changed, for the better.
I realize now the whole point was not for me to convert them, but for God to convert me.